time now for Focus. And a year ago Saturday, a group of Turkish soldiers using tanks, warplanes and helicopters launched a plot to overthrow Turkey's president and government. But the coup attempt failed, but the fallout continues a year later. Now, days after the coup attempt, an emboldened President Erdogan declared a state of emergency that remains in place to this day. France 24 presents a portrait of the new Turkey, one that's divided between heroes and traitors.
A photo seen around the world. It remains an important symbol of the popular uprising against the attempted coup of July 15, 2016. 1 year later, Metin Doğan returned with us to the scene, the entrance of Istanbul's Atatürk Airport, where he came face to face with death.
You see that taxi right over there? That's where it happened. After saying my prayers, I quickly lay down to the ground. I saw that the tank's treads were narrow, so I made sure my head and my heart were right in line with them, so that I would be killed instantly if I were to be run over. My goal was not to stop the tank, but to inspire others. I got up and left once I felt that I achieved my aim.
This week, Turkey pays tribute to the 249 victims of the attempted coup. Lauded as martyrs, their names are displayed in every city of the country, notably in Istanbul's famous Taksim Square. Farther on, in front of the courthouse, a silent demonstration has been held every week without fail for the past year. This is Veysel Kılıç. His son, a pupil at the Air Force Academy, was mobilized that night by his commanders, who were part of the coup.
I'm in such agony. May God punish those who make us endure so much pain.
Convinced of his innocence, Kılıç continues to demand his son's release. However, suddenly, the air around him changes.
You know, sir, there is enough justice in this country.
No, there is not. It might be convenient for you to think there is, but there is no justice.
A few minutes later, undercover police force us to turn off our camera before placing the man in custody. We met up with him again later, in a more private spot.
Everyone knows that these young people were forced to obey orders. They did not act on their own. If that were the case, believe me, if my son had been part of the coup, I would have killed him with my own two hands. But that is not how he was raised.
A year later, and more than 50,000 people are still in custody. Most of them awaiting trial. This opposition MP was on a committee that helped draft a parliamentary report. He believes that the authorities are preventing a proper investigation into the event.
On July the 15th, the intelligence chief was informed at 2:20 p.m. that a coup was being planned. That gave them ample time to prevent it. They could have nipped it in the bud with just a few simple orders, but that didn't happen. In the end, the coup was a godsend for Erdogan and his ruling party. They have benefited from every aspect of it.
Since July 15, 2016, over 100,000 civil servants have been dismissed in Turkey. This unprecedented purge has been described as a witch hunt by the main opposition parties. In protest, a 450-kilometre-long march was held from Ankara to Istanbul, attracting tens of thousands of people.
Why did I lose my job? I was accused of supporting a parallel state, but I'm a socialist. Plus, I'm from the Alevi branch of Islam. Basically, for the past 30 years, I've been standing against the organization accused of masterminding the attempted coup.
On his sign, just one word: justice. At the age of 55, this man has lost all his social rights. He will have no pension, no health coverage.
I was a civil servant for 24 years. I served my country for 24 years. I do not deserve what happened to me. I lost my job, yet I had absolutely nothing to do with what happened.
It only took a few hours to foil the attempted coup on July 15, 2016. But it will take many years to unify a profoundly divided Turkey, split between those praised as heroes and those considered traitors by an administration that grows increasingly intolerant of any opposition.
Well, joining me now to discuss this further is Ali Kazanjili, a political scientist specializing in Turkey, also with the Geopolitical Review, Anatoly. Thank you very much for joining us here. First, I'd like to ask you, as we saw in that report, some strong figures we have, some 50,000 people, including a dozen opposition parliamentarians, 160 journalists have been jailed. We've got 100,000 civil servants, employees, like we saw at the end of that report, that have been fired. What is the current state of things? What is the scope of this? What have we seen in the aftermath of that failed coup?
Well, I think it's a sort of chaos in Turkey. I mean, I don't mean that there are quarrels in the street, etc., but the institutions are being disbanded, as it were, and as we heard, in the society, there is now a very strong division between pro-AKP, the Erdogan, and anti-Erdogan. And one figure which shows the situation is the results of the April referendum 3 months ago. Erdogan was hoping to win this referendum, changing the constitution to concentrate all the powers in the hands of the President of the Republic. He was hoping to get 60–70% approval. He got only 51.5%. And many observers think that he won thanks to frauds, massive frauds in the distant parts of Anatolia.
So it certainly wasn't a strong electoral victory, which was what he was relying on.
Yes, yes.
Which then points to, as you mentioned, then this division that really is certainly growing in the country.
It's really, one can say without exaggerating, is that it's 50-50. 50% for Erdogan, 50% against. Those who are for Erdogan are mostly Anatolian people whose economic and social conditions have greatly improved in the first decade of the first new century. For instance, the income per person was multiplied by 3. The poverty rate came down from 30% to 18%. So these people support Erdogan. There are also religious reasons, conservatives, etc. Also, but the other 50% are against. You have there the urban middle classes, secular, westernized. You have also large minorities, the Kurdish population, about 20%, and also a population which made of Turks and Kurds, which are their confession is called Alevi. It's a very liberal confession, heterodox liberal confession, and the woman and equality between men and women are much better in this confession, etc. There, of course, all these people are against Erdogan. So there's this complexity. Erdogan gets more and more radical because he is unable to, despite his repression, to control completely the society. You've seen after this march from Ankara to Istanbul, there was a gathering in a large park in Istanbul. And some people think there were more than 1 million people there protesting against him. So he's unable to control the society and he has destroyed democracy, the rule of law,
Well, some critics say indeed that this was a civilian coup that we've seen in the wake of that failed military coup, and that it was institutionalizing a clampdown.
Yes, some people say after the failed military coup, there was a civilian coup. Yes, it's not wrong as a description. And it's this coup. One cannot say that it was organized by the government, but the behavior of the government that day is very bizarre, because the intelligence services informed the government early in the afternoon about the coup, and there was no reaction. Erdogan called people to go into the streets and stop the tanks, etc., very late in the day and in the evening. So it's a bit bizarre. I mean.
All right. Well, we are going to have to leave there. Unfortunately, we are out of time. But I do appreciate you coming in here and sharing with us.
It's not opinion. Too confused.
No. It's very good. And once again, tomorrow is the first anniversary, then the 1-year anniversary of this coup, and we'll see, of course, then how things will continue down the line. But once again, for the moment, things do seem to be increasingly divided. I think it's getting more and more serious, because this opposition between the two 50% group is getting harder and harder. I'm not saying that there will be a civil war, but some violence may produce. I mean, this is a very worrisome situation. All right. Well, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And that does bring us to the end of our program. Do stay with us. Annette Young is up next here on France 24.